Let's get down to tonight's business. The Bank of Ghana has given all microfinance companies and rural and community banks February 2020 to meet their respective capital requirements. Now, this was in a notice issued by the Bank of Ghana today. According to the central bank, rural banks should by next year comply with the 1 million cedi capital requirement, whilst microfinance companies should have all met their 2 million cedi capital requirement by February 2020. Let's have a conversation around this. Let's speak with the Executive Director of the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, JoyNews, who joins us on the line. Thanks for your time tonight. So the Bank of Ghana has released a statement asking that microfinance institutions meet the 2 million cedi capital requirement by 2020. That's in about 6 months. What is your state of preparedness, speaking to your members, to meet this requirement?
I think for some time now, we've all been working towards that. So it's not a fresh thing to us. It's something that has been in the pipeline for some time now. But the original date has actually expired. And so we are even lucky to have an extended date.
And it expired because some of your members were struggling to meet the figure. Was that the case?
Yes, some were struggling to meet the figure. If you look at the distribution of the membership across the country and where some of them operate, there has been some issues in terms of the question of you having that much. Will you be able to disperse all those amounts, or you will just have it and it will be certain? So we've had issues. But I think looking at what has happened now, where we have reduced numbers, the onus lies on the few left to do the business and extend to other places. And so with the caution from the central bank that institutions should meet the minimum capital, it's not out of context at all. It is something that we should embrace it and work towards it.
All right. So does this 6-month extension, does it make a difference? Because I'm thinking, what can they do between now and February 2020 to meet the figure set by the central bank? What options do they have?
I think the option ranges from you seeking for fresh funding into the business, from your directors, from investors, from different shareholders who want to be part of your business, and then also the issue of mergers and acquisitions. In fact, prior to the revocation of licenses, that was one aspect that we were working towards, if we can have some of these institutions merging. Even though we haven't been successful with that, it's still something that I presume that we should all follow up and then see if we can get some members who coming up together. Because looking at the situation on the ground now, we can't afford to lose more microfinance. That would disturb the inclusion agenda that we've all set for ourselves to achieve. And so our advice to the members is that for those that cannot meet the minimum capital by the set date, if there's a means for us to merge some of them, that would be very helpful for everybody.
And like you rightly mentioned, the numbers have been trimmed down by the central bank when it did the previous cleanup. So we have a few of you still operated. I'm just wondering how you see things playing out. Do you think that the ones remaining have the capacity to meet this capital requirement? How do you think it's going to play out?
But we are anticipating that most of them will be able to meet by the deadline time. For a few ones that will have the challenge, that's where the advice comes in for some of them to merge or allow other institutions to acquire them. But you see that the process is not a day's process. So my advice is that for those that clearly will see that we cannot meet the capital, they should start the process from today, so that by the time the time is up, they will be in good standing to continue with the business.
Thanks very much for your time tonight. JoyNews, Executive Director of the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network. Let's hear from the CEO of ARB Apex Bank, which is the umbrella body for all rural and community banks in the country. He's been speaking about efforts to meet the capital requirements set by the Bank of Ghana.
Yes, capital is needed for business. And as we speak, over 110 or 115 of the rural banks have met the requirement. The ones that have not been able to, the shareholders are doing everything possible. Some of them are going through merger processes. I know 4 banks in Brong and Ahafo regions have concluded the processes to merge. And I know the banks in Oti are also starting discussions to merge. Some of the bigger rural and community banks are thinking of investing in their sister banks that may be having the capital requirement needs, and to invest in them. We have one story like that, which was done by Fiasiman Rural Bank, and they have invested in Triful Rural Bank, and it is working beautifully. And it's a model that we have sold to the bigger and stronger rural and community banks, because we believe that together and a strong industry, it is good for everybody. It is not the wish of any rural bank to see another sister rural bank being closed down. We all want to exist. And even where rural banks have seemingly some liquidity challenges, their colleagues rally around and support them. Where the ARB Apex Bank may not be in the position to lend to them, but we've been doing that beautifully well so far. But then where there is the need for a sister rural bank to lend to another rural bank, they do that.
While away from the banking sector, Minister of Energy John Peter Amewu has expressed satisfaction with the progress of work on the relocated car power ship at Sekindi in the Western region. He was speaking after a tour of the Takoradi metering station of Ghana Gas and its onshore terminal station. The visit was to assess the progress of work on the commissioning of the car power ship to the national grid. Correspondent Inathalia Kwanzaa was there with the minister's entourage and has more in this report.
4 weeks, they say, well, we're hoping for the first gas, but what is clear important is the location of the power plant here. Give everybody confidence. The gas is here, and that's the main priority of government. The gas is here. The gas, can now be consumed by the car power. So I think for that we are quite satisfied with the work, apart from the few delays that we've seen so far. Yeah. Sometimes car power does as high as 450, 350, 250, depending. So, but as it is here, it's available to go full capacity based on demand supply, scenario. So I think we are on course. If contractors are being paid for work done, clients must also have the benefit of a delay, because every single day that a project is delayed, it costs government of Ghana. And that is why projects make allowances for liquidated damages. And so, of course, I asked that we looked into that. And that's the only thing that can push them to double up. Because if we quantified the delay on daily basis and then slash it against their revenue or whatever they're going to get from it, of course, it will enable them to fast track. And that's why I directed that they should examine the contract for possible liquidated damages, if any, to be applied against the contractor that may be delaying the project. Yeah. This will be investigated to know exactly where the cost is coming from. You realize that it just have to do with an access. Ghana Gas is of the view that certain things need to be done before I can take a full possession. We think that this is not a final completion. This is a practical completion, which gives allowance for deferrability period. So during those deferrability periods, any defer that occur within that period can be corrected. So they can go ahead and then take handing over at that period, whilst other issues are dealt with. And so these are things that we have. But I am just been told that he and I have agreed for provisional, handing over.
Now, energy firms Motomo Corporation is lighting up 140 households in a solar lantern program as part of its corporate social responsibility. General Manager of the corporation, Masafumi Tanimoto, tells Joy Business a program which will benefit residents of Kpong Katamanso will also be replicated across the country. There's more in this report.
About 140 households at Kpong Katamanso will in the coming weeks be enjoying some new solar panels from energy firm Sumitomo Corporation. This is part of the company's centenary celebration. Speaking to Joy Business after presentation of solar bulbs to the Kumasi Institute of Technology, KITE, General Manager of the corporation, Masafumi Tanumoto, detailed steps being taken by his outfit to provide renewable source of energy to communities that are off the national grid.
Yeah, we want to contribute to the community where we are very active as a business. One of our business is operation of the power plant. So we have SemPower in Tema, and we decided to contribute to the local people by donating something regarding the power. So that's why we decided solar lantern.
Meanwhile, CEO of KITE, Ishmael Ajikumhene, noted that the solar lantern aims at improving the socio-economic activities in the Kpong Katamanso area.
Promoting these solar lanterns since 2014, just recognizing that there is a space where, in spite of everything that government is doing, the grid hasn't gotten everywhere. And for some of these people, their source of light is sometimes kerosene or very unreliable dry cell battery. So we've been involved in this since 2014.
In other news tonight, Ghana can become a net exporter of palm oil in the coming years if significant amount of investments are made into the ever-growing agro-economy. According to RSPO, a not-for-profit organization, even though Ghana has enough oil palm plantations, the country still spends millions of dollars importing palm oil products. There's more in this report.
In Africa, it is estimated that smallholder production of oil palm accounts for an average of approximately 70% of total production. In Ghana alone, there are over 20,000 independent smallholders supplying mills. Speaking to Joy Business at the Oil Palm Conference, Pro-Forest Africa Director Abraham Bafo urged government to tap into the economic potential of the oil palm industry.
In fact, Ghana imports about 50,000 tons of palm oil every year. Even though we have the bulb, the unit, the top, the low palm, and the rest, most of them are all here producing palm oil with still. And part of the problem is that, and again the governor mentioned in his speech, is that still the sector in Ghana is dominated by smallholders.
West Africa is both the origin and a new frontier for oil palm production. It produces almost 6% of global palm oil.
As a result of the central bank initiative, we in Edo State, for instance, have now demarcated and will be allocating 117,000 hectares of land for oil palm over the next 3 years.
At the end of the roundtable on oil palm economy here in Africa, stakeholders will be also looking at drafting a special bill, not just for Ghana, but across the West African region, to ensure that the palm oil economy, which currently stands in the negative, is beefed up. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
Now, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana is calling on President Akufo-Addo to look within his government and flush out people sabotaging the Planting for Food and Jobs program by smuggling fertilizers across the country's borders. The president of the association, Abdurrahman Mohammed, believes the acts are orchestrated by people within government. He made the call at a press conference held in Accra.
So far, about 5 cases of illegal smuggling of fertilizer meant for the Planting for Food and Jobs program have been reported in the last 5 months. President Akufo-Addo recently stated at a function that saboteurs are undermining the success of the Planting for Food and Jobs program through this situation. The president for Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Abdurrahman Mohammed, however, says he believes the situation is orchestrated by people within government.
The challenge is that government has subsidized fertilizer for the good use of the Ghanaian farmer, and yet the farmers are not getting it because smugglers are carrying it outside the country. So in that case, the farmer doesn't have the fertilizer in the system. So we are always supporting government to make sure that the fertilizers remain but it's rather beyond our control.
The women organizer of the association representing the 3 northern regions, Hajia Abiba Baku, says it's unbelievable how the arrested trucks carrying smuggled fertilizers got vanished from police stations consistently.
I've seen them arresting cars. You see the car, that's what I said. You see a car parked in front of any police station. Within 2 days or 3 days, you go out, you come out in the morning, pass there, you see the car. And when you walked, very good. And when you walked there and asked any of the police, say, when I also woke up this morning, I didn't see, I'm not on duty. Go and ask the one on duty. When you look for the whole place, you will not get the one on duty. To even ask him, where is the fertilizer car that is parked here? You won't get the person on duty.
A board member of the association explains how their 500-acre rice plantation is lacking adequate fertilizer application.
Peasant farmers are not having access to the subsidized fertilizer. It's a cause of worry. Us taking it upon ourselves to cultivate 500 acres of rice at Mamprugu, where this in a block farm. These farms will be is essentially owned by peasant farmers. And you can imagine what 500 acres of rice production is going to do when it comes to boosting rice production in Ghana. And as we speak right now, there's no fertilizer. The subsidized fertilizer, we can't have access to it. And we have been hearing reports of smuggling of fertilizer every day in the media. Even the president was in Upper East, he lamented over it. And the president always, these are greedy people who are trying to sabotage the system.
Fred, the host report for Joy Business.
Greek Space, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is partnering with Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to improve agric machinery use. Other research institutions have to be drawn into the initiative and supported to advance government's agricultural agenda. Nanaya Ojima was at a press briefing ahead of the Farm Machinery and Input Fair in Kumasi.
About 2,000 threshers have already been imported for rice and maize farmers for increased production under the program. Deputy Minister for Agriculture, George Odro, explains how the equipment will be distributed and paid for.
Over the years, the physical activities on our farmlands have been so much. So now the government is wise to introduce more machinery and agrochemicals into the agri sector to improve the farmers' yield, thereby supplying this machinery and inputs to them on credit. And after the harvest, then we will do the payment. We did a survey, and the data that we collected clearly shows that the average age of a Ghanaian farmer was 58 years. So it's very important to bring in the machinery whereby the physical activities will be eliminated.
KNUST Department of Agricultural Engineering has developed different machinery for various jobs in the agric sector. Some farmers are already using the equipment pending commercial production. Professor Ebenezer Mensah of the Agric Engineering Department encourages entrepreneurs to invest in the project.
We've been able to set up certain individuals by way of helping them with machinery for palm oil processing. So there's not only palm processing. If you go to some of the poultry farms in Ashanti region, we have built feed mixture for them, to process their animal feed. Yes, so we are contributing, and I said, like a research institute, we would need funds to be able to come out.
Meanwhile, the ministry says it is bringing experts together to help improve agriculture in the country. Mr. Odro speaks of partnership with KNUST.
The KNUST Agricultural Department or the professionals were sidelined when it comes to agricultural sector. So this government deemed it wise to bring on board all the professionals. That is why we are doing this program in conjunction with the KNUST Agric Engineering Department.
The machinery fair, slated for 18th and 21st of September in Kumasi, will bring players of the sector together to exhibit machinery in the field. Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Well, still in the Ashanti region, the Ghana National Association of Teachers says it will resist attempts to re-enroll members on the Ghana Education State Insurance Company scheme without registration. Though GS has announced suspension of the scheme by the end of this month, the association suspects government intends to proceed with the policy. Ashanti Regional GNAT Secretary Peter Boateng says lack of sensitization by authorities is to blame.
Very much interested when we heard from the Director General speaking to the effect that there has been a suspension of the implementation of the GES-SIC insurance policy. Our interest stems from the fact that enough sensitization has not been done anywhere to ensure that the teachers who are going to be the people to pay towards the policy have been sensitized as to the content of the entire policy. It could be recalled that the very first week of this month, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the General Secretary made a statement that we were calling on the Director General to ensure that SIC refunds all the deductions they have made. Remember, they made it in June 2008 and then in July 2018, 2019. The refunds, we are being told that they are being made, but many other teachers suffered unknowingly, and that one has not been done. 2, to say that there has been a suspension for only August, and for that matter, they are going to come back in September, tells us right in the face that is a deliberate and well-orchestrated effort to slap the teacher with that deduction. We are not against the policy because we have seen that some individual teachers have expressed interest to join the policy, but there are some fundamental questions we want to ask. 1, how does one come to pay the benefits to the teacher who is a contributor to the policy? Ghana Education Service is telling us right in the face that they have the data of every teacher, every personnel in the service. That is fair enough, but that data that they have can never be used to call for a deduction without the consent of the teacher.
All right, and tonight, just as we conclude, we want to bring you a poll for tonight because we've been asking you on Facebook based on our top story tonight. Microfinance institutions and rural banks risk losing their licenses if they do not meet the capital requirements set for them by the Bank of Ghana by February 2020. Is the Bank of Ghana being too drastic on these institutions? And there you see the results for tonight. 36% of you say yes, the Bank of Ghana is being too drastic. 64% of you seem to support the move by the Bank of Ghana, and it's just early days yet. We still have a long way to go, 22 more hours, so you can log on to our Facebook page, Joy Business, and cast your vote as well. That's it for Business Live. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching.